Hi, this is Tamara Lewis. I'm here talking on what's going online today about how to increase interactivity in your online teaching. I want to discuss something called a discussion forum or discussion board today. Hello, this is Tamara Lewis, back again with another installment of What's Going Online. Let's talk today about how to get your students involved in a conversation with you and with other students so that you have a more interactive online course. Hi, this is Tamara Lewis with another installment of What's Going Online. I want to talk about how to make your classes more interactive. So you might be in that moment where you're saying, how do I get my students to actually talk in my online course? And I have some good news because, yes, it's true that face to face has definite advantages for you as an instructor, but there's also equally really good advantages when you're teaching online. So, how can you get your students to talk online so that it's interactive just as if you were doing face to face instruction? And I want to talk about something called a discussion forum or a discussion board. And the discussion forum is the way that you have conversations in an online environment. So, today, what I'm going to show you are three examples of how you can do discussion forums online and have the same types of conversations that you would have with your students face to face. The first tool that I want to talk to you about is called Flipgrid. Now, Flipgrid is a great way to get your students talking. You can use it in different ways. For example, you might just use it for an introductory exercise, like I'm going to be using it in one of my courses. And I'm going to show you how the Flipgrid works. Basically, this is something that students do have to actually sign up for with a Microsoft account. But most of our students have these types of accounts because most of our own students are using these types of forums. So, in the case of Flipgrid, you can actually go on and you can have an assignment for a student. It could be any kind of assignment. So for in my case, I'm using it for an introductory situation. I go on there, I record a video, and I basically invite them to respond to my video by recording another video with themselves. And what they're doing is responding to something that I've prompted them to do on the video. So usually I prompt them to, for example, introduce themselves. Or you could prompt them to give you a response to a question that you have about an important concept that you're teaching. The fun thing about it is that they can only leave really, really short videos for this. And it's nice to see them interacting with each other on video. So Flipgrid is one example of what you can do. Now I'm going to show you my Flipgrid when I go to Blackboard because I've already actually embedded it into my learning management system, Blackboard, and into my course. And you can see how it works directly in your course so that you're not sending students out necessarily to the actual Flipgrid site, but instead they're doing their work right there inside of the learning management system. Now, there's another tool that I'm going to also show you now from an online environment. And then again, I've embedded that tool into a course on Blackboard so you can see how it works in the learning management situation. Now, the course tool that I'm going to introduce you to is known as VoiceThread. And VoiceThread is very interesting from the point of view of creative people because what VoiceThread allows you to do is to record a video upload a slide or do something that is in a written form and present it to students, and then have the students respond directly there to what you've said. And so you see that I've created something out here. Basically, the first thing that I've created is just a video, and you create that directly on VoiceThread by adding media. So there's different media that you can add. In this case, I decided to add a webcam video, but there's other things you can do. You could do an audio recording, and then you can add, for example, a slide. So I added a slide from my PowerPoint. It has text on it that I want my students to respond to. And then once you have that in your VoiceThread, it creates this as a VoiceThread that you can have students respond to. And I'll show you what that looks like in the learning management system in just a moment. So here we are on Blackboard, and I always have this test course set up on Blackboard so I can show things and how they work inside of a learning management system. And here, what we want to do is we want to look at what this could look like if we incorporated it into our course. And so I have already incorporated it under course description. So I'm just going to go to course description. And what you see here is I've actually uploaded and embedded the Flipgrid that I was telling you about, as well as the VoiceThread. So they're already embedded, and students can respond to them directly there. And I want to show you how they work. So here's my example. I want students to introduce themselves on Flipgrid here. So I've already made it up, and it's embedded in here. So all they have to do is scroll down. You can see I'm asking them to say hello. And what they can see is that I've already put a video up of myself. And they can watch my video, but then there's this big green button right next to it. And that big green button with the plus inside means that they can themselves add a video to respond to me. So I'm just going to show you the video that I made. It's just a prompt.
Hello, Skills 5 students. This is Dr. Lewis. I just wanted to give you a quick introduction to our course and let you know that I'm really looking forward to working with you in this course. I know that we will have challenging times because we will.
So I'm going to pause that, and that's because I want to show you that right below you see this comment box in green with the little comments there. And if you press that, it gives you an opportunity to log in and then record yourself. So you can log in with your Microsoft account or with a Google account, and then you can actually record yourself and respond to what I'm saying. So every student can go up and record and respond. And that way you get a series of responses that you can actually share back with students if you want to, because you can get your link and everyone can go to it and see what other people have said. And it's just a really nice way to be able to get students interacting with each other. So that was the Flipgrid, and you got to see how that works. Now this is the VoiceThread that I also told you about that I made up. Now I've embedded it into Blackboard, and I can do my prompt, and I can have the students respond to the prompt. And you can see I've embedded it already there, and then I will play it just so you can see how it works.
Hello, students. I've got something here that I really want to get your opinion on. This is to do with our next coming seminar when we're going to be talking about the theme civil disobedience. And what you...
Now I'll stop that because there's another slide after it. Students can press on the next button and then they see the slide. This is a slide. You can make this full screen so you can read everything. And when you make it full screen, then it's possible for you to move it around and to read everything that you need to see in the slide. And you can see that I've given them a prompt. They need to read this and then they need to respond to me. And what's most important is that you can respond by pressing on the plus button at the bottom of the page. And when you respond and press on that, you get this sort of array of possibilities. You can make a text And if you text, you can type in anything you want and save it, and then it becomes part of the response under your initials, and you can see it and everyone else after can see it. If you don't want to type, you can actually record yourself, and then it asks you to have access to the microphone, and then you record yourself. I'm not going to do that right now because I don't really want to show that feature. Okay, so I'm going to cancel and get back out of this, but just so that you're aware, they can give a webcam response, they can upload something, they can give audio responses, or they can give text responses. So this is how you get students talking back and forth with you and also seeing what other people have said. So they can see every single person who has left some comments there and what those people have said. So now you've seen an example of how it works inside of the learning management system if you use a web tool like VoiceThread or Flipgrid. But there's also the possibility to use the function inside of the learning management system that is called Discussion Forum. So let's talk about Discussion Forum. How do you get to it? Well, the Discussion Forum is actually part of your course tools, and you choose it on Blackboard under Course Tools, and then you go down to Discussion Board and you choose Discussion Board. It's on the left-hand panel. And when you choose Discussion Board, it opens up like this in Blackboard, and you have the option, if you have the edit mode up in the corner turned on, which is up here on the right-hand side, as long as it's on, you have the option then to create discussion boards. Now, I have a discussion board here. It's already a test forum. And what I do is, when I press in here, I can create forums. So I've already created one forum here called Introduce Yourself. And I want to show that in a minute so you can see what can happen inside of a forum. But first, let's talk about how to create it yourself. So you can create the forum by pressing here. And when you press Create Forum, it opens up a dialog that looks like many other dialogues inside of Blackboard. So you can call this a forum of Talk to Me, for example. Then you give a prompt and tell them what you want to do. And you write in, give your opinion, or whatever you want them to do. So give your opinion about, and then tell what it is, give a prompt to them, and then you save it and submit it. There are some other options that I'm not going to cover here. You have the option to actually grade it and have it show up as something that you want to grade. But now you can see I've created down here Talk to Me forum. And the thing about creating these forums is that once someone goes into them, they have the option to actually respond to you. So when a student opens in there, if they're the first student, in any student after, they have to create a thread. And create a thread, when the student creates a thread, they're actually responding to what you ask them to say, talk to me. So you can say, I disagree, for example. And if you want to talk about what your feelings are, then you have to actually discuss it. So I think that, and then you have to tell your opinion about whatever it is that the prompt asks you to talk about, and you submit it. And when you submit it, it becomes part of the thread in the discussion. So you can see that the first person who ever responded to your thread was somebody named Tamara Lewis at this date and time. And every student that comes in afterwards has to create a thread, and then more and more of them are created, and you can read them and respond to them. So people can go into your thread and actually respond to your thread. So it becomes like a discussion among people, and you can actually ask your students to respond to a certain number of them. So you might say, I'm going to require students to respond to 2 other posts after they make their own post. And that can be part of what you're requiring students to do in order to show that they're participating in your course. So that is the last of the demonstrations that I wanted to show you about how to create different ways for your students to talk in your class. I think it's important to recognize from those 3 examples that I just gave you that, in fact, when you have a discussion forum, you're setting up a community. And community is something that you have to build when you're doing online learning. And community is the key to having social interaction in your classrooms and into making your discussions more lively and enriched. I will place also within this blog the